Hi, I'm Jack, and I'm the one that Lazaris channels through. And before Lazaris actually begins, I thought maybe I'd talk a little about what the experience is like and how this all started. That seems to be a question that a lot of people are interested in knowing about. Actually, Lazaris first channeled through on October 3rd, 1974. And we know that date only because Penny happened to jot down the date on the notes she took that evening. We had no idea that it was going to be anything important or special. We thought whatever it was, we didn't really know. And so if it hadn't been for that, we probably wouldn't know exactly what time it started, even at that. But in thinking about it, I look back and I realize that actually the whole experience started several months before that. You see, I didn't know much about metaphysics. In fact, all I knew about it was that some people are into it and some aren't. And I was busy working for a large insurance company in a regional office, sort of climbing the corporate ladder. And as part of that climb, I was at the home office for a week for meetings and things like that. And one evening, through a number of miscommunications, which now I realize were actually quite well planned on other levels, I ended up spending the entire evening at home or in my motel room. And so with nothing better to do, I thought, well, I'll meditate. And that was something I did very rarely, maybe once every 6 or 8 months, and usually fell asleep while I was doing it. But that night I thought, well, why not? So I did what I could do to go into a meditation, and everything was going along fine. And then something very exciting happened. What happened was that the visualization in my meditation started becoming spontaneous. It just sort of happened. And before I knew it, I found myself in this wonderful cabin, in this wonderful forest, and there was an entity in a suitable body form. He talked to me an awful lot, and now I don't know what was said, but it was about reality or something like that. What was so exciting about it was that I actually felt like I wasn't making it up for the first time in my life. And also, I could retain it. I remembered it at least for a short time after I came out of meditation. I wrote it all down and called Penny and very excitedly told her all about it. And on other occasions, then I tried to recreate that experience, but it never happened. So I sort of threw away the notes and forgot all about it. Because, see, Penny was the one that was into metaphysics. She was the one that knew about these sorts of things. I was too busy climbing that corporate ladder. But I did know enough to know that a lot of people use meditation to relax, and a lot of people also use meditation to get clarity about the decisions they were making in their life. And so one night, several months later, well, in October of that year, we decided, well, we'll try that. You know, I'll go into meditation and see if I couldn't get some clarity on some decisions or whatever. So I dutifully sat down in the bed and went into a meditation. And because my tendency is to fall asleep when I meditate, Penny decided, well, she would ask me questions to kind of keep me alert, keep me in focus of what was happening. And so she would ask me questions, and I would give my insights, and the answers were appropriately mundane, and I was very quickly getting bored. And then I could feel myself starting to drift off to sleep like I usually did. The next thing I knew, I kind of jolted awake and apologized for dozing off. And then Penny told me what happened. She thought I'd fallen asleep too, but my head didn't, bob in the usual way it did. So she decided to just sit and wait and see what did happen. And after a period of time, a few minutes passed, this voice came out of me and finished answering or answered the question that she had asked. And that was the first time Lazaris came through. The first talk was pretty much basics on who he was, why he was here. Yeah, I would be fine, and there's nothing to worry about me physically. And also, he gave her the technique that I should use to repeat the experience to get back in trance. And also explained to her that he would be coming through daily for a while at least in order to make the final adjustments and the final alignments so that he could continue to communicate in an audible and in a continuous way like this. Well, Penny told me what happened, and Penny doesn't lie, but I really had a hard time believing it. I mean, I just couldn't let it in. For about 2 months, every evening after dinner, I'd sit on the bed and close my eyes and do what I thought was going to sleep, and Penny and Lazaris would talk, and finally adjustments were apparently made because they made a tape recording. You see, for me, the experience of channeling is such that I close my eyes and I drift off, and it's like sleeping. It's not really sleeping, but it's like sleeping without dreaming. It's just totally black. For me, it's like closing my eyes and then opening them again, what may be a few minutes or a few hours later, I have no idea. Because I'm not aware of what's being said, I have no recall because I wasn't aware of it in the first place. And I like it that way because it allows me to be very detached and remain very separate, and it also allows the people that work with Lazaris to feel the total intimacy and the total confidentiality of their conversations. So I didn't know what was happening, and all of a sudden here I'm presented with this tape to listen to. Put it in, turned it on, and I listened for about 5 minutes. And then I shut the tape off, and I went for a walk, a real long walk, because I didn't know what to think. I mean, I was scared, I was angry, I was bewildered, confused. And I didn't know what was happening to me or what was going on. I didn't know what to think. Now, so many years later, it still sometimes is pretty bewildering when it kind of catches up with me, the wonder of what's happening and the amazing things that are happening with Lazaris. It still is a bit bewildering. It's no longer scary, and it certainly doesn't make me angry, but it still can be a little bewildering at times. It's been 11 years, a little over 11 years actually, and what I notice as I look at it is that Lazaris has been totally consistent. For all the time that he's been talking, he's never contradicted himself, and he has his own personality that's quite distinctive and quite unique. And that there have been thousands and thousands of people who have talked to Lazaris, each of whom has been helped in their own way. And they come back to talk to him again. You see, Lazaris never tells anybody you have to see him, you must come back, your life depends on it, or whatever. He talks to each person as though this is the only time he's going to talk to them. Invites them to come back if they wish, and they do because they're helped so much. And when they come back, they're helped again and again. And there are thousands of people all over the world now who have wonderful successes and wonderful wins in their life. And they still keep coming back to talk to Lazaris too because of the love they have for him and the love he has for them. So now, with 11 years later, it's really hard for me to even remember a time that I didn't understand and know what's going on. Lazaris is a non-physical entity, and he's never been physical, and he channels through me by aligning his vibration and my vibration somehow, I don't know, but channels through me to help all of us become more of who we are. Yeah, he never demands any kind of allegiance. He's not our guru, he's not our master, he's a friend. He never uses fear, never uses trickery or any kind of this is the end of the world kind of method to attract people to him. He uses a gentle, loving honesty to help us see who we are and understand ourselves much better. He doesn't herald himself and proclaim himself marvelous and wonderful. He offers love and insight. And he doesn't say he's here to save us or save the world. But you know, as people who know Lazaris, they experience the importance of what he's doing. And they get a sense of the integral part that he is playing in the future of our planet, and he is playing in our reality. I've come to really know Lazaris, and I've come to really know his love. And we're making this videotape, this one particularly called Awakening the Love, as a gift to all those people that are out there that have expressed their love and their wonderment for Lazaris. There are a lot of people we found out that are out there that have never seen Lazaris or never seen me in a channeling experience. They listen to the tapes dutifully, and they work with them, and they've had a tremendous amount of impact on their lives, but they've never really experienced it, and their circumstances are such that they probably never would. So this tape is a way for those of you out there in that condition or that position to get a feel for a little better feel at least, for what Lazaris is like. So as a gift, we want to let you know that it's all right to duplicate this tape. This one, not the other videotapes, but it's all right to duplicate this particular one to give to friends, to share with others that you would like to. Also, I want to say that I'm the only one that Lazaris is channeling through. I'm the only one he's ever channeled through, and the only one he will, and it'll only happen in this lifetime. And I say that because there are some already who are saying they also channel Lazaris, and either they are wrong or they're lying. But he does come through me and only through me. So if you'd like to know more about Lazaris or begin your own personal relationship with him, you can write to Concept Synergy, Post Office Box 159, and then in parentheses, M, in Fairfax, California, 94930. Or you can call 415-456-4855. You know, one time I had Penny ask Lazaris what did I need to do to get out of the way or whatever, so that he could do his work, so that he could do what he came here to do. And the answer that Penny told me, he said, that came back, was that my job was to do just that, get out of the way. So I think I'll do that now. Usually Lazaris speaks to several hundred people at a time, but because we wanted these experiences to be more intimate and more personal, we decided to do them here in our gallery and to have just a very small group, a very select group of very close friends of Lazaris present while he's talking this evening. All right, fine. Well, a pleasure to be here and to be talking with you this evening. And we're going to begin by talking a bit about ourselves. You see, so much of our work and so much of our pleasure is dealing with talking to you about yourself and helping you understand yourself more clearly, that it seems only appropriate that from time to time we should stop and explain to you a little bit about who we are. Indeed, we are Lazaris. We began communicating officially on the 3rd of October 1974, over 11 years ago. That's when we started this audible channeling through this particular body that we use for such purposes as being able to talk with you very directly. In fact, we did contact the channel a bit earlier. He stumbled upon us, he thinks, in a much earlier time that year. Actually, he didn't really stumble upon us, but we were making certain adjustments and needed to do a few little testings along the way. In fact, we have been in contact with the channel, though he does not know it, for many years before. In what would be other of his lifetimes, we have indeed gently nudged and gently suggested certain changes, certain directions, so as to help him move those lifetimes in a direction that would prepare for this time now. Also in this lifetime we have worked with him, again subtly to the point that he did not know it was going on, to help again nudge and very subtly suggest certain activities and certain behaviors in this lifetime so as to prepare him to be as clear a channel so that we could communicate as clearly as we want with you. After all, if we're going to go about channeling and communicating, we want to do it in the clearest way possible. In discovering who we are, it is perhaps best to look for a moment at who we are not. And indeed, first point is that we are not physical, nor have we ever been. Now that point is something that creates a little problem for some people, because they assume if they're physical, then everyone has always been, or has at least at some time been physical. They will give, if you're not physical on the earth, then maybe some other planet. But to accept the fact that someone's not physical at all, or some formless consciousness is not physical at all, is just too difficult to accept. It is an interesting one to ask, the sense of the egocentricity that does occur there. For surely you can accept in your reality that there are people living out there who live their entire life, experience their entire experience of existence without ever setting foot in the United States of America. That seems acceptable. But it somehow does not seem acceptable that there are consciousnesses that exist their entire existence without, quote, setting foot, without having foot, without setting foot upon any planet, more or less your own Earth. It is an important point, however, and we do make it. Oh, it would be very simple to say, oh, yes, we had a last lifetime in Atlantis, or we had a last lifetime somewhere in Lemuria. You could never verify it. You could never prove it one way or the other. It would be also very simple to say, well, we are the channel's higher consciousness. That's an acceptable origin as well. But you see, it's not true. And we have this penchant, you see, we have this penchant for always telling you the truth. And it is also important for you to understand, because in so much of your metaphysics you are taught that you are all there is and there's nothing beyond you, nothing before or after you. And it is important to understand that there are forces of consciousness, intelligent forces at that do exist, that are on levels that are beyond your awareness at this point. That there are forces out there who care about you, that are more than just another aspect of you. So we are non-physical, and we have never been physical. What else are we not? Well, we're not a guru. We're not your master or a master. No, long since we've moved beyond those levels of awareness. Ultimately, you realize, hopefully, that you are your own guru and your own master, and then you will understand the truth that we are telling you. And further, we're not your father, though many would like to make us their father, a father they never had, or to replace an inadequate father that they embarrassingly did have. But we are not that either. We do not get disappointed when you come to us and say, I didn't do what you suggested. In fact, we never tell you to do anything. We never have the expectation that you must or that you absolutely will do as we say. We suggest that you do this or suggest this approach or that approach to the various issues about which you are discussing. And if you come back and say, I didn't do it, no matter. We'll offer you a different way or a different approach, or perhaps help you understand what your resistance was. But we are not your father that you can come and seek punishment from, for we shall never punish you. We are also not God, or more correctly put, God, Goddess, all that is. We, like you, are a piece of God, Goddess, all that is. Perhaps a more aware piece, but a piece of God, Goddess, all that is, like you, but with grounded awareness. Well, what are we then? We are a spark of consciousness. A spark of consciousness that does not have a form. Content without form. And therefore, to talk with you, we use this body, we use this mechanism so as to let you know we're communicating with you, so that you can know we are also. For truly so we do, and at times we can, and we do at times talk to you in other levels. But this way you know it. You don't wonder, was I just making that up? Did I just hear what I wanted to hear? We are a spark of consciousness without a physical form. We are a spark of consciousness who exists and is aware of its existence, who creates thought. See, we don't think, because thinking takes time, and time does not exist in realities where we are. And so we create thought, and we create reality. Well, now, wait a moment. You know from your metaphysical study that you also are a spark of consciousness, and you also realize that you, well, maybe you don't do it a whole lot, but you're capable of thinking and creating thought, and you do create your own reality. Exactly. We are much the same, you and us. We do it without form and with much greater awareness. You do it with form and at sometimes very little awareness at all. We are also a multidimensional awareness, a multidimensional consciousness. That is why we refer to ourselves as we, not in the imperial sense, clearly not, but because we are aware of ourselves on many different levels simultaneously. You see, you are aware of yourself, you call yourself I, and you are aware of yourself as a physical being. You also know that you have an astral self and a causal self and a mental self and higher levels of yourself. Absolutely, you know that. But because you're not simultaneously aware of it, you refer to yourself in the singular as I. But we are aware of ourselves on those multiple levels, and therefore we refer to ourselves similarly in that sense. Indeed, if we were ever to be physical, and we will not, we would probably be many people. Well, does that mean we're a big spark? A spark is a spark. Without form, big or small, means nothing. A spark of consciousness, a multidimensional spark that is aware of itself exponentially, as you are a spark of consciousness, aware of yourself linearly. We are aware of our existence, and we're aware of our own expansion of consciousness, though we have never been physical. You know, one time we were asked, if you're very good, and if you grow a lot, can you someday be a physical being? And we smiled and said, well, we suppose we could, but we choose not to, and it's not that we have to be good to become, but that we chose not to prior to making a lot of our decisions about our growth, just as you chose to in making your decisions in your pattern of growth. You see, as a spark of consciousness, each makes the decision, how do I want to grow? In what form, what manner, what means? And in the process of answering those various questions for yourself, some desire to do it physically, some decide not to. You decided to do it physically, we have decided not to. Most of those, we dare say, not all, but most of those listening to this recording chose to do it physically as well. So there's quite a few of you, most definitely, and there's quite a few of us as well. What level do we come from? Yeah, that question is put from time to time. And there are those who are hooked into the hierarchy, who's higher than who and who is at what level and this sort of thing. And indeed, ultimately, hierarchies do not make any sense, because which is more evolved, the tulip bulb or the blossom? And there are those who are very insistent upon knowing the levels. What level I must know. And we dare say those that are so concerned about it wouldn't really understand it anyway. It's sort of like a pack ad, you know. If you have to ask the price, you can't afford it. Well, if you have to know what level it's on, you won't really be able to understand what it means anyway. We would suggest there are the lower worlds which you are aware of, the physical, the astral, the causal and mental, and by what names you give them, it matters not. Those planes of reality that you, as physical consciousness says, have created, as your playground, as your learning experiences, as your illusion to discover and to grow within. Beyond those are the higher realms. And how many are there in infinite number? As many as you can count plus one. And so therefore we often tell people, what level? Pick a number, we'll be there. Because we are not here to impress you. We are here to help you, to work with you in becoming more of who you are. Let it suffice therefore to say that we come from very high levels. We're aware of ourselves on many, many levels, and very high levels at that. That we are the only one who has and will ever be communicating from our particular levels of awareness. And let's leave it at that. For truly so, we do not want you to listen to us because Lazaris said so, or because Lazaris is from this or that or the other level, or because a friend of yours got a lot of help and so therefore automatically you will know. We want you to be able to listen to us because what we say works for you. And the more you put the emphasis upon, does it work for me, the less you get concerned about levels of awareness we might be upon, and more excited about the levels of awareness that you can explore. So how do we do this thing, you say? How do we do this channeling? Well, we're not in the body. Oh, we make the body do the various things indeed, because we want to appear and we want to seem very approachable so that we can touch you, so that you can touch us. But we are not in the body. You see, when you have a television set, and that's an analogy perhaps that you can work with most easily, and you flip on the evening news, you by no means consider, or even for a moment think, that Dan Rather is sitting in that little box. You know very well he's off somewhere else, and that there is a transmission of electromagnetic energy that is sent through your atmosphere, that is picked up by an antenna, and then amplified, and then re-amplified into that television box. Well, in a similar sense, we are off somewhere else, yes, on our planes of reality. And we align thought, and we align vibration, and we align them in a certain way such that when they are transmitted from those levels through the various levels, and thus enter into your planes of reality upon that level that is called the mental plane, or the highest of the lower worlds, it is then downstepped and downstepped and downstepped sufficiently such that the antenna that the channel is can pick up that vibration and then amplify it. And what comes out of this moving mouth is a series of bleeps and blips, a series of vibrational frequencies that aren't really words at all, but indeed are vibrational frequencies that your ears pick up, and the reverberation upon your eardrum is thus interpreted by your brain to be words. And thus we so communicate. There is no need to enter into the body. That was indeed done once upon a time, we would suppose, by those mediums and those that felt the ectoplasmic connections were all rather critical. But this is a new age, and therefore things are done differently. Things are done new. Plus, in that sensing, we can be much more clear and be assured that our communication that we send is the communication that you receive. Whereas to be in the body would take the encumbrances of the body, and they're totally unnecessary. So we, in a sense, crank the channel's body up before we make entry and let it sort of hum along on its own, so that we might use this amplification process. And the gesticulation and the movements of this sort come about by the thought process that is sent forth. Now, admittedly, we do not think raise the right hand or raise the left hand and move it in this or that fashion, but by the very energy of the vibration, by the meaning of what we are saying, thus these movements take place. And so that is how we make this communication. You know, there are those that wonder about our accent also, and we contend we don't have an accent, not at all. How can we have an accent? We aren't talking, yes? Bleeps and blips certainly don't have accents. But after these 11 years or so, we've rather come to acquiesce. All right. If you insist, we have an accent. But you see, in fact, what's happening here is you are hearing us. You are hearing us in the way that you hear us. Some have described us as though we sound as though we're English or Irish or Welsh. Some have also said we sound as though we're French or Norwegian or basically Scandinavian. Others have yet said we sound as though we've learned English in India, that we were perhaps a native there, or perhaps we have a certain Oriental flavor to our speaking. Well, whatever you so desire is fine with us, because we have no national origin. We are not picking up on any one accent. Perhaps it is the combination of sounds that creates all accents. The point is, we want to reach you, we want to touch you, we want to be able for you to hear us. And therefore we amplify it through this body form. And what seems to be words, what seems to be an accent, does occur. Why? Why do we do this? As many of you know, there's all kinds of metaphysical happening going on, and it's proliferating marvelously and beautifully well. A grassroots movement of sorts where there are all kinds of psychic and metaphysical and spiritual things happening. And there are many who channel, and even more who claim to be. Why do we do this? Again, to begin with the knots. We're not here to save you. We respect you far too much. We respect your ability to create your own reality. We're not going to take you by the hand like little children that are sort of making little noises and lead you to the promised land. You don't need to have anybody do that. You know how to do that for yourself. So we're not here to save you. You don't need saving. You can well take care of yourself. You can well grow and stretch and reach and make the changes in your consciousness and in your beliefs and in your attitudes to produce the changes in the world that you so seek. And similarly, we're not here to save the world. The world is a consciousness as well, and a quite evolved one at that. And we have total faith and total confidence that the world can take care of itself. The world is an evolved enough consciousness that it knows how similarly to grow and to expand its consciousness without being taken and carried somewhere. The world is cleansing itself. The world can purify itself. And you know, there are those of such limited thought that think that that purification can only come through catastrophe, that that purification can only come through hardship and a hellacious sort of cleansing. They never consider that maybe the earth knows how to change without struggling, that the earth knows how to change joyously, just as hopefully you will learn. But you see, the old way of thinking, the old metaphysics, said that the only way you can grow is by suffering. The only way you can expand is by going through the pain. You know, we often wonder, how does a child, when they first take that lick of ice cream, know it's good? Probably because they had a bad one at one time, right? Sour milk ice cream or something of that sort. No, they could tell it was good just by its first taste. They didn't have to know pain to know pleasure. And the newest way, and the new way of growing is indeed that through the joy of discovering yourself, not the agony of it. And similarly, your earth does not have to erupt and fall apart and burn itself. It doesn't have to grow through the agony any more than you do. It can grow through the joy, just as you can. So we don't have to save you. We don't have to save the world. Besides, there's so many others wanting to do that and willing to do it. We'll let them. We're here for 4 reasons. First, we're here to talk to Penny. We have, without interference, observed many of her lifetimes and watched her develop a pattern of growth, a path of evolution, and we've watched her joyously and successfully move along that path. We're aware of what she's here to do on this and other levels, and we like it. We find it to be very beautiful and very wonderful. And we want to therefore participate with her in succeeding at that focus, that purpose. For indeed she is in this lifetime as a preference, not a need. Well could have moved on, well had her last lifetime a couple ago, but chose indeed to come back to complete this particular activity by choice, by preference. And so it is that we wish to participate, and therefore we have come to talk with her. She asked us once, what do I need to do to get out of the way? How can I do whatever you want so that your work, your mission can be accomplished? And we sat for a moment and smiled and said, if we spent the rest of your incarnation talking with you, we would be very fulfilled. However, if you wish us to talk to others, to share with others, we'll be more than happy to do that. Now, we knew what her answer would be. And so, that is, however, the first reason we are here. Because we know her innocence and her power. And we know her love and vulnerability. It touches us very deeply. And so we came to touch her. We also came to learn about your physical plane. You see, we decided long ago we'll never be physical. But we do want to have the experience of what it is And therefore, by the activity of channeling through this particular body, we can become aware. We don't have to ask you questions, but just by tapping into this and your consciousness, we can find the answers we see. You can learn about all we want to know about the physical world. But you see, we're getting something out of that, and therefore to give something back. And therefore we want to give back to you insight into your own reality. You see, because we are outside the set, we have never been part of the physical, astrocausal, or mental reality. And therefore, from being outside of the set of reality, or the set of those consciousnesses who have known that reality, we can't get a fuller view. We do not have time. We've learned to talk with time, to say things like, long ago. It does mean nothing to us, but it means everything to you, so we'll agree. Or there once was a time, a strange garble of words. But it makes you happy when we talk like that, so we will. But we want to receive from you the knowledge of what it is to be physical, and we want to give to you the knowledge of what it is to be physical. You see, we talk with people privately, and we always will. We'll never retreat to the massive workshop where you can't get close to us, or we can't get close to you. We'll always talk with you one-to-one, so that we might help you understand your blockages, for example, what it is that gets in the way of you being all that you can possibly be, what it is that keeps you from the total happiness and the total success that indeed is meant to be yours. To talk to you of past lifetimes, not just as the entertaining things that they can be, but to help you grow, to help you put a perspective on yourself, to talk to you of your focuses, why you're here, your purpose or your mission or your task, as some refer to it. We call it a focus because it is like a camera that you can change, zoom in or pull back or change it altogether. It is not something handed to you. Here, this is your assignment. Now get out there and do it. It is something you choose, something you decide. I decide I'm going to focus on this or this other thing in this particular lifetime. And by helping you understand the context of your existence, we can help you take back some of your power, take back more and more of that power indeed. To answer your questions about how reality works and how your reality works. To help you see the blueprint you've laid out. You're the architect of your past, you're the architect of your future. And we want to show you where you've drawn the lines, where you've made the rooms, where you've made some dead ends over here, where you've built this out with no support under it, to help you understand your blueprint so that you might make decisions as to what you want to do about it, so that you might change it and either put the supports there or build it in some other direction or do whatever you want with your reality, to help you see what you've created when you are not willing to see it for yourself, to learn and to give in that learning. The third reason we're here is that we want to give you a choice. You see, so much of what has been metaphysical knowledge and what has been spiritual knowledge has been based upon centuries-old knowledge and understanding, which is often very correct knowing and understanding. But it is also so often based upon the pain and the suffering and the fear and the threats and teaching you for your own good. There are other ways to learn. There are other ways to grow. You can grow with the joy and with the love and leave that pain and that sadness and that hurt behind you. You can grow without the suffering, without the agony that has so often been called spiritual. It is fine to grow that way. There's nothing wrong with it. But if it's the only way you think you can grow, that's unfair. You ought to at least know that there are other ways, that there are other routes, there are other buses that are heading home, not just that one that you think you have to get on, that you can even drive your own bus home. To give you that choice, to show you there is another way. Because you see, you were intended to be totally happy.
It was intended that you'd be totally successful and intended that you'd have total dominion in this realm that you have created. You have created it all and lost sight of that to the point that you have become a servant of that which you are supposed to have dominion over. And we want to remind you of that, and we want to help you discover that for yourself. To give you that alternative. To help you open your gift of choice, of making those choices for yourself. And finally, we are communicating because we want to touch you also. We want to let you touch us so that we might share our experiences and our awarenesses, and so that you might share yours as well. We are a non-physical entity. We've never been physical. We are a spark of consciousness that is here to help you become who you are. To laugh with your joys, to celebrate with your successes, and to be there for you with your tears. We love you, and we have always loved you, but we respect you too much to force that upon you. When you're ready, we're here. When you're willing to be loved, we're here to help you become more of who you are. One way we want to do that is to help you awaken to the love. There are many who tell you you can't be helped. You got to do it all yourself. That help is somehow saying you're less than and we are more than. And it's sad when people think so limitedly. When people think in that way and so locked up in their own logic. You can be helped because you are strong enough to let yourself. There are others that say you can't love. And you can. And you know you can. And it confuses you when they tell you otherwise. Sometimes you think you don't know how, sometimes you think you don't deserve to, but you do know how. And so we want to talk about awakening that love that is there. You see, so very, very often, you are told this as the solution. The problem is you don't love yourself enough. And indeed, every spiritual endeavor in all time and most philosophical endeavors see at least the importance, if not the essentialness, of love, self-love. They realize that it is part of being a successful person, whether it is a technical theory on management or a very esoteric theory on metaphysics. Both agree self-love is essential, or at least important, to success, to happiness, to being a valuable and valued person. You know you should love yourself. You know the importance of that. Long before you entered into a metaphysical or spiritual endeavor. In fact, it's so ingrained in people, so ingrained in you, that you should love yourself, that you often lose sight of why. Well, because. But you have much more of an answer to that. Why should you love yourself? It's automatic. And it is automatic, it is important, but it's also important to understand why you should love yourself. Why is that a valuable thing to do? You know, you pick up a book that could be on almost any topic, from better home management to psychology to philosophy to metaphysics, spirituality, to how to any number of things. And you read these books because you want to grow, because you want to change, because you want to understand. And the books are very good at detailing the problem. Oh, in very great detail you're told all about what's wrong and why it's not right and what the problem is. Oh, it can be delineated absolutely, superbly well. But then it comes time for the solution, and it's vaguely skimpy. Love yourself more. That's what you need to do. That's the answer, and it is. That's the answer to your personal, your national, international, your global, and even cosmic problems. Oh, there may be many pages dedicated to that solution, but it rather comes down to love yourself more, which is great. You knew that. That's why you read the book in the first place. Or you go to seminars, of which there's a prolific number of them. And similarly, the phenomena occurs, the problem is delineated. But love yourself, that's what you need. Just love yourself, just love yourself more. Well, you know, there are just so many pampering gifts you can buy yourself. There are just so many hairstyle and wardrobe changes you can make. There are just so many relationships you can complete and make new, until you realize, I don't know what love is, more or less, how to do it, even if I did know. Your problems are well defined, but your solutions are often missing. You walk away, you close the book, or you walk away from this workshop having had both the problem defined and the need for a solution defined. But you're not very clear on what it is, how to do it, and when, and where, or any of that. You see, most of these workshops and most of these books conclude, you need to love yourself more. Well, we want to begin where they conclude. You need to love yourself more. There. That's the end, okay? Now let's move on and talk about why. Why is it important to love yourself? First of all, it's important because it is the ultimate technique. If you indeed loved yourself totally or fully, there would be no need for any human potential, metaphysical, or spiritual technique. If you loved yourself fully, there'd be no reason to go to school, to learn to write, to learn to read, to do mathematics. Because if you loved yourself totally, all that you would need to know you could gain from yourself. In lieu of loving yourself totally, you create schools and you create ways to grow, and technique upon technique upon technique, and that's wonderful and that's beautiful, and we encourage that, because the fact is you don't love yourself totally. And until you do, you need to use these other methods. But ultimately, when you do love yourself totally, then you won't need to remember to program this, or remember to program that, or remember to clear this out, or to handle that, or to do all the techniques that you now do. And the more you love yourself short of that total position, the more quickly, the more easily, and the more abundantly all those techniques work. We don't program our reality. Create it. We don't sit down and make lists of things my mother did to me. We never had a mother. Because we love ourselves, which we do, we create the reality we want. And until you can love yourself more than you do already, those techniques are important. And as you love yourself more, they work better than they do now. It is then that you can create the miracles in your reality. Miracles can be defined in any number of ways, but we define a miracle as when a positive reality works even more positively than you anticipated. When you love yourself, your programming generates miracles. That's one very good reason to love yourself. A second is that love and self-love are the only permanent antidote to your negative ego. You see, you created an ego that was supposed to work positively. It was supposed to assist you. It was supposed to function as a liaison between that outside illusion that you are creating and this inside you, this spark of consciousness that is you. What the ego was supposed to do was to communicate and let you know what's happening out there so that you might make the decisions. Then you tell the ego what to do about it, and it carries out your decisions. That's how the ego was supposed to function initially. It is not supposed to function in here, in the depth of your meditation, in the depth of your reach and stretch for your higher self or your higher aspects of yourself. It is not even supposed to function out there in your illusion. It is supposed to function in between, where it takes the data and delivers it to you clean, and then you give it the responses, and it carries those things out clean. But you see, what has happened here in your own development is that when that data came in, you didn't know what to do with it. And so you said, "Oh, don't bother me with that. Do what you want. Do whatever you think is best." Well, the ego is totally unprepared to do that. It's totally unprepared to do that, and therefore it had to, what? When in doubt, punt, right? But in its activity, it got used to that power of not only telling you what, but interpreting it for you. Someone just ran into your car, and they did it on purpose because they're jealous of you, because they were jealous of all the money you have to drive such an expensive auto, and so they did that on purpose. They're out to get you, you know. Rather than just giving you the information, someone hits your car and you can respond how you so desire. And it got to like that position of power. It got to like that position of strength. It got to like the way of lying to you and watching you dance. And thus the negative ego was born. The negative ego that is out there trying to run your life and is in here trying to tell you, you handled your ego long ago, don't worry about it. You're the most evolved person on the planet. You'll never evolve, forget it. Any number of messages it likes to give you, positive and negative in here, just so it's not true. That's the only criteria the ego uses, the negative ego uses, just so it's not true. Ultimately, that negative ego has as its goal to destroy you, to be as destructive in your life as it can. And indeed, you look around you, and not for you, of course, but you see it in other people, where the negative ego can destroy in minutes what it may have taken them years to build. The pride, the arrogance, the self-centeredness, the better-thans, in minutes can wipe out what it took years to build. The only way to clearly handle that negative ego, to handle it, to be done with it, is through love, through loving yourself. Because you see, the more you love yourself and the more you love, the more you're going to return that ego to its initial position. Not kill it, not stomp it out, not strangle it to death, but give it back its old job. Take mastery over that ego because you love yourself. Because a loving person would do no less. A third reason why it's important to love yourself. You see, you are born, yes, you know that. You don't remember it, but you know that. And the biology of yourself carries you into childhood, whether you like it or not. You don't really have too much of a choice there. You think you want to stay an infant. Oh, you can do it psychologically, perhaps, and some do. But physiologically, you're going to become a child, whether you like it or not. And you get fitted into that position, and though you've got some things that you'd like to correct about it, we understand, nonetheless it gets pretty comfy there, and you just as soon stay there, except your body pushes you on into puberty, and bang, all of a sudden one day, you're rapidly racing toward adulthood, much against your desire. I want to stay a kid again, yes? Or I want to hurry up and get to be that adult, but I don't want to be where I am. You know that feeling very well. And the body will take itself into what is grown up, yes? Being a grown up. We hesitate to say adult. Being a grown up. But it's love. It's love for yourself that can make you more than just a grown up. It's love that can take you into being an adult. Because adult is not measured by years or by body development or by skill or by income. Adult is measured by attitude. An adult, in fact, is a synergy. A synergy is a word that Ruth Benedict invented, which means that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Perhaps the easiest example of that is if you take a cylindrical tube and a little spring and two little D-cell batteries and a little light bulb and a little circle of plastic and a little cap. You have a bunch of pieces here. If you put them together in the right way with the plastic and the little light behind it and the batteries and the cylindrical tube cap together with the spring to hold them taut against each other, you've created a flashlight. The light is a whole that is greater than just the sum of the parts. A synergy. Adulthood is a synergy. It's not just what happens after you get to be 21. It is a combination of a free child, of a caring and curious adolescent, of a nurturing parent, using transactional analysis terminology to this point, combined, mixed together, and out of it comes an alchemy of adulthood. So you can't get there from here. It's the whole that is greater than just the sum of its parts. For just as with a flashlight you can see, so in adulthood you can more effectively and more with greater dominion create your reality. And it's love that is that little ingredient that causes the fission and fusion, the alchemy of adulthood. A fourth reason. You have a desire to know the God, Goddess, all that is within you. Love is the only thread of communication between you and God, Goddess, all that is, from your perspective. From God, Goddess, all that is perspective, there are many threads, but from your perspective, there's but one, and that's love. You see, in your physical reality, you have all kinds of emotions and all kinds of illusions, and you have this thing that you make up called time, and this thing that you pretend is there called space. But you know that when you move to the higher levels, those things gradually disappear. On the astral plane, there is the concept of time and the concept of space, but there is no time and space there. And the illusions become more imaginative, perhaps. They become more animated, and they become more within your domain. On the planes higher than that, as you move more and more, even the concepts of time, the concepts of space drop away, and eventually the pain and the hurt and the angers drop away, and eventually everything drops away except love. The only thing you have to get you from where you are to there, to your higher self, to your soul, to God, Goddess, all that is love. Therefore, it's very important to love yourself. Well, why don't you then? It's so important. It's a wonderful technique. It's the only one you need. It'll make you into an adult. It'll handle your ego, and it will open that way home. It's the breadcrumbs that'll lead you there. Well, then why don't you? One of the major reasons you do not is you've never been taught how to, really. It's been expected that you'd pick it up by osmosis or by observation. At best, you might have got a halted and hesitant talk about the facts of life, pawned off as a discussion of love. You know, son, someday you'll grow up and fall in love, and you better know about VD. Or, young lady, someday a man will come along and you'll fall in love. And watch out. Don't give him what he wants or he'll think you're a tramp. You're supposed to learn about love by observation. You learn to read, you learn to write, you learn to do arithmetic. Critical and important knowledge. Teach you about love? No. That's supposed to be done in the home, but most parents don't know. It's not their fault. It's not that they're bad, because they don't know what it is either. They learn from observation as well. Well, what did you observe? You observe love as pain. It hurts so much to love. You observed it as guilt. What do you mean I don't love you? Look how guilty I feel. Look how much I've sacrificed for you. Look what I've given up for you. How dare you say I don't love you? No, you've never heard any of that. Of course you have. And it is those associations that form your definition. Love is pain. Love is guilt. Love is martyrhood. Love is self-denial. Love is suffering. Love is making the other one suffer. Love is making the other one feel guilty. Love is being used. Love is being taken advantage of. Love is getting down and becoming a rug for someone to walk upon. Love is denying all your own existence. Those are the kinds of observations you've made of parents and of friends of parents and of television. You've listened to the records. You've heard the love songs of the pain of love and the agony of love. Even if now with videos and with all the amount of music there is, indeed, what will love be in 20, 30 years from now by those observable definitions is sometimes rather frightening. But even if you're in your 60s and 70s, you know music, you've heard songs. And if you listen to the words of those songs, that's where you learned what love was. That's where you figured out what it was supposed to be. So now you learn to program. Now you learn to create your own reality. Now you learn to affirm that I am loving and being loved. But if I have a definition of love that says pain, love is being used, therefore I'm programming, I want to be loved, I want to be loved, I want to find someone to love me, means I want to be used, I want to be used, I want to find somebody that will use me. And then you complain because, hey, I'm programming for love and all I'm finding are these people who want to use me. Because that's how you subconsciously have defined it. And you read it in the book, yes. You read what it is, but they don't tell you. Love is pampering. Go out, buy something nice for yourself. Change your hairstyle. Rearrange your living room. Do something loving. That just doesn't do it. And so you end up with these definitions you don't even know you have. And you learn the metaphysical techniques and they end up backfiring on you. I was happier when I didn't know how to program. Because at least I didn't have anything then. Now I've got all this ugliness around me. Until I can define love more clearly. Why else? Well, you know, you're not taught to love, but you are taught not to. Parents teach you. That's selfish. Don't think of yourself. Think of others. Love others. Don't love yourself. There'll be plenty of others to love you. Don't worry about it. I love you. That's enough. I love you, that's enough. What's wrong? Isn't my love good enough for you? These kinds of phrases come at you. So you're told don't love by parents and by teachers, by the educational system as well. In fact, much of philosophy, even though you never took a philosophy course, much of philosophy that filters through and is the core of your whole existence says that it's selfish and wrong to love yourself, that your human beings are animals, too lowly to bother to love. And your religion teaches you not to love yourself. God will love you, that's enough. Just love God, and He'll take care of you. You don't need to worry about loving yourself. Let God do it. And your society tells you, so afraid that you might, through that self-love, become too independent or too self-reliant, says don't do it. Love other people. After all, there's people starving in parts of the world. Love them. Don't worry about yourself. You've got enough. That phrase, I used to complain about my aching feet until I saw someone. Your feet still ache. And though you can care and appreciate that it's not as bad, that doesn't mean don't try to make it better. But you are taught not only not what love is, but not to do it. Another reason you don't do it is that it feels somewhat like being chosen last for the softball game in elementary school. Somebody should love me, and if no one will, then I'll love myself. And it is like that, don't choose me last, don't choose me last, and then, okay, we'll take you. Whether it ever happened to you or not, you know the feeling. And to many, to say, okay, I'll love myself is somehow admitting defeat. Like I wasn't good enough to get somebody else to do it, so I'll settle for loving myself. Fourthly, you don't love yourself because you don't think you deserve it. And you're unwilling to love yourself anyway. You lack a deservability, which is something in each of you. You don't think you deserve it. Well, there are ways of working on that. And there's ways of changing that. And when you can understand that loving yourself is the first step, loving yourself is the thing you must do before you can even begin to love others in a very real and deep sense, you can change that obstacle as well. And when you realize that it is important, that it is your responsibility, your contribution to the world that you are so willing and wanting to help, to do so in a loving way, which means I need to love myself first before I give the gift of what I have to offer to the world. Also, by learning what love is, by just getting rid of your old definitions, you can move in that direction very handily indeed. So what is it? What is this love? You see, that's the thing. So many tell you to do it. And they give you these very shallow explanations of being nice, change jobs, move, get out of that relationship, get a new, find somebody, get into a relationship. That's what you need. That is never answered. And all you end up is feeling is like you somehow failed. Because I asked, I got an answer, and it didn't work, so I'm bad and wrong. Because no one will really take the time to tell you what love is, or to tell you how to do it. So what is it? Actually, there are 7 different components to what love is. Love is a combination, first of all. It is a doing certain things. It is doing certain things so as to produce and provide a state of being. It is doing something to provide a state of being. It is not just doing, nor just being. It is a combination of doing something to provide and produce a state of being. Well, what do you do? 7 things. The first thing is give. Obvious, yes? Give. The first step, the first thing important in love. Give. Give what? Of yourself? From yourself? Yes, to give. To give what? To do this giving to produce what? Well, just as there are 7 things to do, there are 7 things to produce. Therefore, if you wonder, what can I do to love somebody, you got 49 choices. So you should never be at a loss. But you are if you don't know what that is. Give to do what? Give to produce security. Give to produce pleasure. Give to produce honesty and vulnerability. Give to produce trust. Give so as to produce intimacy and caring. Give so as to produce a reduced fear of loss. Give so as to produce a state of knowing. Not to give so that you can get something, not to give so that you can feel high and mighty, not to give so that you can produce and provide one or all of those 7 things. To give, to produce security, pleasure, honesty and vulnerability, trust, intimacy and caring, reduced fear of loss, and a state of knowing. Give to produce these 7 or any of them. It's also, love is also the act of being responsible or responding, is what Fritz Perls that first said, or perhaps others also, that to be responsible is an ability to respond, and indeed, which sounds like a fun little definition, does have a great deal of merit. Because you see, to be able to respond in your reality, you are functioning in a reality here and now. If you are living in the past, you are unable to respond to the here and now. If you are living in the future, you are unable to respond to the here and now. It is by being here and now, it is by being able to respond as an adult, as a metaphysical, spiritual adult, as an adult, that you can be responsible. And it's not only the ability to respond, it's also the willingness to respond. Being responsible so as to produce security and pleasure and honesty and vulnerability, trust and intimacy and caring, and that sense of reducing the loss and the sense of knowing. Being responsible so as to provide and produce. It is also respecting. Respecting so as to provide and produce those 7, which we shan't repeat every time. To be loving is also knowing. You get to know somebody, yourself or somebody else, by either producing pain or producing love. The desire to get to know is so strong that generally, if you're not doing one, you are doing the other. To know yourself and to know the other, so as to provide that sense of security to knowing. To know to know. Beyond that, love is also having a humility to be intimate. A humility to be intimate. Now that does not mean grovel. That does not mean down on your hands and knees, oh humble, humble me. Humility is a willingness to look at each moment brand new. A willingness not to assume that just because something was, it will be. How often have you found yourself, oh, I know this won't happen because it never has. That's lacking humility. The humble person says, though it has never been, there's always a first time. Though it has always gone that way, it can go this way from this point forward. That's humility. A willingness not to just have one answer for every problem. A willingness not to have just one line for every issue. A willingness to see each person as the individual that they are, to see each situation as the moment that it is to have humility. And it has, in order to be intimate. Humility and intimacy are very intricately linked. Humility and intimacy is very intricately linked. Say that 50 times. Eh? Because to be intimate with someone, yourself or someone else, is to be in the moment, passionately and spontaneously. That's what intimacy is, a passionate, spontaneous, in the moment expression. To do that, I have to be humble. Humility, to be humble and to be intimate for the purpose of providing those 7 things. To be courageous. Courage. To have courage. To be courageous so as to make commitment. Commitment. You all know about commitments, yes? Those scary, scary things, yes, and it takes courage. We're not suggesting, commitments are not at all frightening. Of course they are, because they have a high level of responsibility associated with them. If I make a commitment to you, then there is a responsibility that I am able and willing to fulfill. To have the courage to commit, to make a commitment so as to provide or produce that security, pleasure, all the way down to the reducing the fear of loss and providing a state of knowing. And finally, the 7th component of what the action is you do in order to love. That action, caring. To care for yourself or someone else so as to provide and produce a state of one of those 7. That's what love is. Admittedly, it's not as simple as saying it's a warm puppy. But it is what love is. And as you can begin to look at it, as you can begin to function from that place of looking at the giving that you're doing, how much should I give? 100%. We had someone delightfully say, I'm giving 100%, and I have a question about, do I have to? You don't have to. You don't have to. But the more you can give 100% for the purposes of providing, not just to give for the sake of giving, but for the purposes of providing one of those 7 functions. See, that's where it's important to make the distinction. To give a pile of money is not necessarily an act of love unless it provides one of those 7. To give someone information is not a loving act. How many times have you heard people say, well, I'm going to tell you this, and it's because I love you, and then proceed to give you information that is to produce all kinds of insecurity and all kinds of fear. And I just did it for your own good. I thought you should know. Well, maybe they should know. And maybe it was right to tell them, but don't link it up in that particular way as an act of love. Say what it is, an act of truth perhaps, an act of respect to tell them if it really is, an act of honesty if you're truly being honest and your real intent is not instead to hurt and create pain and insecurity for whatever other reason. Giving to produce one of those 7, not for any other reason, just those 7. Being responsible so as to produce one of those 7. You see, you have for yourself a responsibility. Why be responsible in your reality? Why take responsibility if you can blame somebody else, right? Why do it? Because by being able to respond and willing to respond, so it is that you can provide these states for yourself so you can love yourself. There's very little other reason to be responsible. We would suggest it'd be hard to find one that didn't fall into one of these provided categories. And similarly to respect, respect is often overlooked. What is respect? Respect is honoring your emotional nature. Honoring your emotional nature. That's what respect is. So often people try to gain respect by doing this or doing that, or by performing well or doing a perfect job. That's a job I can respect myself for. And in fact, they then end up feeling no more particular respect for themselves or not, and think, I must have failed somehow, I must have done it wrong. Indeed, a job well done can provide esteem, because esteem is something you can earn based on what you do, based upon who you are. It is earned love. But respect is appreciating your emotional nature. And therefore, when I do a superb job, I don't necessarily gain much respect. I can gain esteem. Oh, smitter smatter, that's just a matter of semantics. Words are what you use so much of the time to communicate. They're important to understand. Because if you think self-esteem and self-respect are the same thing, that they have to do with what you do, then you're going to overlook that part of you that needs to honor and to respect, indeed, to honor your emotional self. To respect yourself or to respect another so as to provide, you see. Not just, I'm going to respect you because I think if I do that, I might get some pretty nice things out of you. I might, get you to give me this or that or the other. So I'm going to, I respect, oh yes, I respect. No, to respect, to provide one of these things. One of these, or all of them for that matter. And then that state of knowing. To know, such an earnest desire in you. You want to know. And therefore, to know in a way to provide those things is an act of love. And similarly, with the intimacy and with the commitment and with the caring. How do I know if I'm doing something loving? You can check. What am I doing? And it is producing this. Self-love is doing these 7 things so as to produce these states of being. Am I giving to myself to provide that? That's where maybe that pampering gift can work for a short period of time. Am I responsible to myself, for myself? Am I telling myself the truth so as to provide those things? Am I respecting my emotional nature for the purposes of producing these things? Knowing myself, being humble, to be intimate with me. So many think intimacy has to deal with climbing into bed with somebody, or hugging and kissing, and that can be included, we would suppose. But self-intimacy and intimacy with others can happen in so many other ways. To be in the moment passionately and spontaneously with yourself is the most wonderful form of intimacy indeed. To be committed to you. To you. Surely if you want to commit to a cause or to a drive or to other people, but first to yourself, so that you have something worthwhile to present to this that you are going to commit yourself. And to care about you. To care about you. Stand in front of a mirror sometime and look at that person in there. Look at that face and study it. Study it very closely. Study every line on the forehead, every movement of the brow, every line and wrinkle or whatever. As though you were going to see in a few moments a room of 1,000 lookalikes and you had to pick this one out. Study it that closely. Look at that person. And then start caring for that face looking at you. It's an amazing exercise if you will study for 10 minutes and then just start caring for the purposes of providing those qualities. Then you'll know what loving yourself is. And you'll know if you're doing it. You see, often in situations people will say, to love, I want to love myself more. And a man will often ask, well, what do you want me to do? And a woman will often wonder, what do you want me to be? Because that's the nature of that masculine quality and that feminine quality that predominates, not controls, but predominates in that form. Actually, it's a combination. You see, love is itself a synergy, a whole that is greater than the sum of its parts. Love in itself is this magical, wonderful alchemy that happens when you combine the doing of these 7 functions with the being of these 7 states. As you work with these things, and not just take them down on note paper and stuff it away in a bottom drawer somewhere. There, I know how to love now, according to Lazaris. Don't take it because we said so. Don't believe it because someone said we're good. we're right. You take it. You take it and you work with it. You start practicing. Maybe start with only one of the things. Maybe only begin with giving to yourself and then to others. And when you get that knocked, you know you got that handled pretty well, then move on. Try the next one. And if that doesn't make too much sense to you, then skip it. Go to another one. Maybe you can't in the first week master all 7. Maybe you can only do 2 or 3. And maybe you can only provide a couple of those things. That's moving. That's growing. And as you do that, you will be able to do more. You will be able to do more. And what happens? What happens when you start loving yourself? Honestly, for once. Honestly loving yourself. Not just saying the words. Not just the affirming, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. Or writing it, I. Like you did in school. But really doing what needs to be done to produce those states of awareness you seek. What happens when you begin loving yourself? That you discover that you want to love others. That you want to love others. Now, there are those within the metaphysical realms that will tell you that's impossible. You can't love other people. It can't be done. And they will make as their argument, taking to pieces of truth, you create your own reality. True. You create all those other people out there as part of your illusion. True. You create them so as to experience yourself, so that they might mirror who you are. True. Therefore, if you love somebody else, you aren't really loving somebody else. You're just loving a mirror of yourself. It is really sad when someone thinks so limitedly. It is particularly sad when one gets hooked up in the syllogisms of deductive reasoning. On paper, that is true. You can lay it out ever so logically because you created all. Therefore, they are all illusions. They are just you. Therefore, there isn't anybody else to love, so you can only love yourself. Makes sense. Very logical. The problem is, logic relies upon time, and therefore it also is an illusion. And there are those who will admonish you to think in the broadest extenses, and at the same breath tell you you can't love anybody else. Don't be such a fool to think you can. It is sad when someone limits themselves like that and gets hooked in the syllogisms, as we say. But it's irresponsible when that person then goes out and tries to validate and justify their limited position by teaching it to you. Reality is unlimited. You create your own reality. You can create the reality of loving others. Maybe you do create everybody, which you do. And maybe you do it for the purposes of experiencing yourself. That you do. And maybe what you're trying to experience is what it's like to love somebody else. Indeed, maybe everyone is a mirror. And maybe you're trying to see your capacity to love someone more. Maybe you're looking at your own ability to love somebody else. For at the same time that those that tell you you can't love others, you are told to love God. As an infant, if you are never taught to feed yourself, and all your life someone feeds you until you're 18, And then you're told, now, feed yourself. If all your life your clothes are picked out for you, and all of a sudden you are told to now shop for your own wardrobe. If all your life every decision is made for you, and then now you have to make your own, you will fail, fall flat. If all your existence you believe you can only love yourself, and then move beyond this limited world of your illusion, and are told to love God more correctly, God is all that is, you won't move beyond the limited plane. Loving yourself, yes, critical, essential. Loving others, the option that is available to you so that you might grow. You create it all. Everybody in your reality is an illusion. And when you learn from that illusion sufficiently to love yourself, then you can love others. And then you can give the greatest gift of love, the gift of making that illusion real, the gift of making that illusion real. You have within you that capacity. You have the ability to love yourself. It's there, despite what you've been taught, despite what you've learned, despite what you've been told. You deny it for various reasons. You don't believe it's there because you don't know how. You don't even know what it is. As you can learn what it is and learn how, as you can accept that maybe you are able to love yourself in a way that counts, in a way that shows, in a way that produces impact results, as you realize that you are capable of loving others, something you've known in your heart and in your gut and in your expression. Who was it? Plato, who hypothesized that the number of teeth in a man's mouth is different than a number of teeth in a woman's mouth, and made a very logical and complete argument for it. If he had only opened his wife's mouth and counted, he would have found the answer to his question. There are those who can hypothesize and those who can theorize what you are capable of doing or not. But it is you who is going to experience it. It's you who is going to open your heart and open your mind and find out what you can do. By awakening the love, awakening that love within you. Awaken that love and allow yourself to be all that you can be and to do whatever you desire. To help you awaken that love, we want to take you on a meditation. It'll be a brief meditation. And for part of this meditation there will be music. And the music that will be used was written specifically for us. And the person who wrote it, a young man by the name of Stephen Boone, did a magnificent job of capturing our essence, and even more important to us, capturing the essence of our connection with Penny, and through that our connection with you. In our meditations, you will always remain conscious, though we suggest you do not do things that require a lot of physical dexterity. But then very few of you have video cassettes in your automobiles anyway, so it's not too much of a threat, we would suppose. But we would encourage you to close your eyes, or if you want to keep them open to see what we're doing, that's fine. But we would encourage you to close your eyes and let yourself relax. So let us begin that meditation now. And we'll just wait a moment as you get settled and relaxed and find your comfortable position. If you wish to lie down, that's totally fine, but find your comfortable position. And now if you would gently close your eyes, just gently close your eyes. And as your eyes are closed, just listen to the sour wind of our voice. Just listen to the sour wind of our voice and allow yourself to relax. It's a wonderful feeling to just let yourself relax with your eyes closed gently. If you want to peek, that's fine. The eyes closed gently. Let yourself relax. You will be in full and total control. You will be in full and total control. Everything that is said, you have the choice of accepting it into your subconscious, unconscious mind, or not. And if at any point you wish to conclude the meditation, you may do so by simply opening your eyes and knowing that you are in full and total control. Closing those eyes now, just let yourself relax. 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 It is a wondrous feeling to just let yourself go. To just let yourself relax. There you are in your own privacy. Letting all the sounds that are around you gently caress you, gently carry you into a deeper state of relaxation. Relax. Just letting yourself go deeper. Just letting yourself go deeper. Go deeper. Go deeper. Let all of the tension and all of the worry be lifted and drifted from you. To be totally at ease. To help you enter a deeper, more relaxed level of mind, we are going to count from 7 to 1. With each descending number, you will find yourself, you will allow yourself to go deeper and deeper. You will allow yourself to enter deeper, more relaxed levels of mind, and when you hear the number 1, you will be in a totally wonderfully relaxed place, a totally wonderfully relaxed place that is just right for you. Just right for you. 7, allow yourself to relax. 6, going deeper, going deeper. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Totally relaxed and totally at ease. We want you now to imagine. Imagine yourself wondrously, marvelously in a meadow. A beautiful meadow, and let the colours live, let the colours come alive. That grass is so green and blowing and swaying in the wind. And let the trees tall and majestically stand powerfully within the meadow. And since the sky is so very beautiful, and there might be a cloud, or there might be more. And this is a beautiful meadow. Let yourself smell the smells of the grasses and the gentle breezes wafting and whooshing around you. Let yourself hear the sounds, the little sounds, the gentle sounds, the loving sounds of nature. Sense it as clearly and as imaginatively and as lively as you can, to almost taste it. here in the meadow, as you are relaxed and at ease, gently and wondrously so. Sense coming towards you a bubble of light, an elliptical bubble of light. And as this bubble approaches, floating gently and joyously just above the grasses, sense this bubble now before you. And as you breathe in deeply, holding that breath for a moment, on the exhale you will step into the bubble and the bubble will step into you. As you are inside the bubble now. You are capable of giving, of being responsible. You are able and willing to respond. Respect yourself. Honor the emotions that are so much of what you really are. Let yourself glimpse just a piece of knowing, just a bit of who you really are. Having the humility to accept that you can be different. You can change, you can love and be intimate. And feel welling up within you the courage to commit to you and your reality. Piece of caring, with a little spark in your heart, begins to grow and grow and grow and fill and surround you just so. Awaken the love. Let it come alive. Feel the security and the pleasure. Let yourself experience the vulnerability and the strength that is included therein. Let yourself trust that you can create your own reality wondrously. And be intimate and care, knowing you are safe, that you shall not lose or be lost. Knowing yourself as the spark of consciousness that you are. Awaken the love. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. and in the quiet of the meadow, in the stillness that surrounds you, you have awakened that love. You may not fully know it, but you have awakened that love, and you shall grow to know it. In a moment you'll open your eyes. You'll open your eyes and be fully awake and fully alert, feeling vibrantly alive, feeling wondrously alive. At the count of 5, 1, 2, you're starting to come around now, 3. At the count of 5, your eyes will open. You will open your eyes. 4 and 5. Open your eyes, wide awake, full of energy, full of vitality. And just for a moment sense that tiny little awakening that will shake your whole reality and shake your whole world. Awaken the love. You are capable and deserving. Let it be. We have very much enjoyed talking with you this evening, and with that we shall close. And to you we do offer love and